Hey guys, and welcome back to Sundari Broadcast Systems. We have unfortunately been away for probably 2 months now, due to some technical difficulties and just real life stuff. So we weren't able to do episodes, but also there was the big lull in kind of like Star Wars content coming out. Was there plenty of stuff to talk about? Yeah, but I didn't have a computer because my old one decided to take a shit.
Yes, it did.
But now I have a new one, so we're back. And today we're going to be talking about the first two episodes of Bad Batch season 2.
I just watched it, literally not that long ago. Don't care what Shane says. Fucking brilliant. I know Shane's probably watching right now. Fuck you, man. No, in all sincerity, do love you, man. I did like it. It's a good way to start an episode, to start a new season. Very unique. Just how like the Bad Batch is unique.
Oh yeah. There are a few things that I wonder if they're going to explain, and first one stands out brilliantly is the change in armor colors. Like,
yeah,
why did they do that? Like, did they do it to stay kind of under the radar of the Empire since they're supposedly dead, or is it just like personal choice?
I think it's more. I think it's more personal choice. I mean, they're more like. It's like the same thing of like if someone just cuts their hair, like how Ezra went from long hair to short hair. I think it's just more. I think personal choice. It makes them more unique and not staying the base. Plus, they are the Empire already knows knows what they look like. So it's better.
But at the start of the season, they were presumed dead. Like the Empire believed them dead after the Battle of Tipoca City. So that's why I'm like, are they doing it to stay under the radar? It's just one of those things. I would like an explanation, but at the same time, I won't be upset if they don't give us an explanation for it.
Yeah, it's not like. Granted, you can still recognize them. It's just a change. It's just a bit of the change of color and the contrast.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes it. I think it just makes it feel more like to show that time has gone by.
Oh yeah, and we definitely see the passage of time when we look at Omega, because
she does it. I love her hair.
She doesn't look like a little girl anymore. She looks like she's actually like coming into age. Like she's probably early teenager at this point. It looks like.
Not for a clone. She doesn't have speed. It's like
no, she doesn't.
Enhanced aging. She just ages like a normal person.
Because she's just like Boba and unaltered. Well, she's altered obviously, but she's a non-age enhanced clone.
Yeah, they weren't made. I wonder why. I can't remember if they explained it in Bad Batch at the moment. Why did they Jango Fett wanted a clone like a son. Son. We already see all that with Boba. Did he intend to have two? To originally have two? And if that was the case, why did he not have Omega?
So, the way I've understood it up until this point is because of their names. Boba was not originally Boba. Jango gave him that name.
Yeah, it was
the
Alpha.
Kaminoans named him Alpha, and Omega is obviously Omega.
Because wasn't he the first?
He was the very first. But Boba is completely unaltered clone. He's 100% in Jango Fett DNA. Every part of him is the same. But Omega, she's a clone of Jango Fett, but she's obviously, the gender has been changed, but she also has, because she was born, whatever you want to call it, in the same lab as the Bad Batch, as Clone Force 99.
Yeah.
So that means she has a mutation of some sort. Something about her is different other than just the gender.
There had to have been like a recessive gene that took that like it's like a chromosome. I'm thinking of biologically.
So
It's like had to
with
do like with an upset of chromosomes.
the Kaminoans are like, as master cloners. So they could take like a strand of DNA and completely alter it from like its original base.
Yeah, there's like they can find like the dominant genes and recessive genes, and
But
like
they also could like they could take somebody who's naturally a blonde and change like go click on their computer, and now that person has jet black hair.
Mhm.
Like them creating a whole new person just from a strand of DNA is not far fetched at all.
the fact that they made so many with so small. Did we ever? I can't. In the Clone Wars, did they ever show Jango Fett's DNA, like with the sample of Jango Fett's DNA?
Yes, during the first battle of Tapoka City, when Grievous and Asajj Ventress were invading,
That early?
yeah, it was in like the canister it was in was about the size of like your average like soda can.
Oh yeah, the one they caught. Yeah,
Yeah,
the one that
it's probably about like this, probably about this tall.
it's like with the it's like the cup. Like my cup's too big for it, but just
Yeah,
add it off
it's about that size.
about it.
Obviously the technology in Star Wars is different from here, so they're able to make a lot out of a little.
It's very funny how like everything feels so futuristic in Star
Mhm.
Wars when it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's everything's happened in the past somewhere else, and it's like
But here's the thing about space is while it says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, in present day, if we could observe that galaxy, we'd be seeing things happen in real time.
yeah, that's another
Because
thing. I
just how light and information travels over through space, you could be at one part of the galaxy, and we'll just stick to the Milky Way. You could be at one part of the galaxy and have a star explode and then travel all the way to here to Earth. We look at that same quadrant of space, we still see the star because it takes so many millions of years to get to us. So we're basically looking back in time because we're observing the star as a star, even though in real time it's already exploded and it's dead.
it's space is
I
one
love
of those
space.
space is yeah, this so cool. It's still something I always struggle with. I always with Star Wars, and I don't know if it is permanent Star Wars in the Star Wars galaxy. Something could happen. Like I'm just going to give an example from the High Republic with the Great Disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Like time wise, news does spread fast. Like once it happens, you can. I would imagine everything feels like it's happening in real time no matter where it is in the galaxy because of communication. That's
where I would like bring up like that. Obviously, they have different tech than we do, so they've been able to break those limitations that we as a still new to spacefaring system.
As a species of one celestial body that we know of. Because I don't know if what I just said made sense. It did in my head. Now it doesn't anymore.
You lost me.
I lost myself. You please go on before I was. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
So Omega is a clone, but she's as we can see, heavily modified clone. I don't think they've ever told us what her mutations are. So it'll be interesting to see if that develops or if her mutation is that she's just a girl.
Hey
Hannah. Yes,
Hannah.
we're back. We're alive.
We are fine. We're back from the dead. It could be that. I would not like it if it was. But if it was, it would make sense with what it was planning. It would still feel pretty bad. However, you can tell in this I could tell in like the first episodes that like her training's has been getting better. Like like when I first saw her shooting at those giant crabs, I was like, that's a soldier right there.
Well, what do you expect when she's living with 4 soldier dads?
Exactly. Yeah.
She's got 4 dads that are all professional soldiers from birth. Well, what do you expect to happen over the passage of however long this has been between season 1 and now? Which
it makes it more unique because it's like I feel that Jango okay with cloning in Star Wars. I think Jango would fight so differently. I know because he's a bounty hunter, he has more tech than the others. But like comparing it to another clone, he would be They have 2 different fighting styles, no matter training.
I want to bring up what Hannah said. This would definitely be a very interesting thing to be brought in, because the only time we've seen Force users cloned or the ability to tap into the Force used by clones is in Legends, and it was a long shot. Like, it wasn't something that could be mass produced. So I would like, if that's true, that'd be awesome. But if they just bring it in some way, somehow, it'd be awesome.
And it would be very cool. The only way we would find out about that is with a Force user, another one. And you know who else we see in the previews and trailers? I'd laugh if it was, but it makes sense. Gungi.
Oh yeah, we do see him. He survived. I forgot about that.
I'm crossing my fingers, hoping his friends did too.
Doubtful.
I know.
But the Wookiee boy survived.
The Wookiee did. Yay.
Good for the Wookiee. But yeah, did they ever tell us what their mission on that tropical planet was? Because
it was to get that was
they were there to get something, but then they got attacked by crabs.
It was similar to the chest, but they were wanting to go for something bigger because it was the same. Because I think it was like a similar mission, but because they're going to Sereno and Count Dooku's former palace, that has a lot more stuff and value. Like didn't they just do that mission? Do a similar mission?
Okay, speaking of Dooku's palace, we were going to get to this point eventually. I have seen this everywhere when I've been on social media, and it's irking me to my core. People are saying that because of these 2 episodes of Bad Batch, it destroys Dooku's story that we got in Tales of the Jedi.
Huh?
But yeah, that's what I said, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. That's the thing. It doesn't, because when we last see Dooku in Tales of the Jedi, it's literally the same time as Qui-Gon's funeral. So there are 10 years between that and the start of the Clone Wars. And it's 13 years before his death. So he has plenty of time to amass a fortune through taking from the people of Sereno and the other people in the separatist government.
Not to mention that his master is literally the commander-in-chief, the authority figure that is probably richer than anyone else in the galaxy. So that's where he can also find his funds. And
Also,
plus with the Trade Federation.
Better. Guess who aligned with the separatists in secret? The Intergalactic Banking Clan.
Yep.
So him having this massive fortune to fund the war doesn't break his story at all.
Break it at all. He's just a bureaucrat.
He is good at politicking. Because guess what? His master is the leader of
why would it
the Republic, the ultimate politicker.
Why would it why would that episode decanonize him? He's dead at that point.
I don't know. It's Star Wars haters. They want to hate anything new that doesn't go along with what they think how things need to happen.
I mean,
like when you take control of a plant, we'll use real. When you take control of a country, it is so easy to just amass the money. Your citizens will struggle and be miserable because they have no money. But you, as the leader, you have all of the money because guess what? You control the banks, you control taxes, you control every aspect of the economy. So you have all the money in the world. Doesn't matter. So it's him having a fortune is a-okay. It's perfectly logical.
Yeah, it's how a guy like him funds. Aside from him being a Sith Lord, he's also aside from him being a Sith Lord and a Force user, people can also still be like CEOs, entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
You can lead can you imagine? Like, no one ever talks about how like Palpatine is like. They always say, "Oh, he's the Emperor of the Sith Lord, this dark industry." No, he's also like the funder of a freaking like the Emperor of an empire. He's the leader of the Empire. He has funds. He has people who do it for him. He knows what he's doing.
And also, like, another thing that people forget: who was Sidious's master? Darth Plagueis.
Plagueis
was part of the banking clan. So money everywhere
comes together. It makes sense. Nothing is changing. It is literally how the world, and in their case, the galaxy works.
Mm-hmm. I will say I was surprised by the size of the war chests.
Well, those were huge.
Because when they found out about it, they were aware that the Empire was already taking from the war chest. When we see them get to Sereno, it's the last 3 cargo transports. Each cargo transport had probably roughly 100 containers that were full.
It's like
valuables.
That's 23% of what was left.
Yeah. That is insane amount of money or just valuable stuff. Because it wasn't necessarily just money. There's other stuff that could have been sold to make money or weapons, traded.
Goblets, armor, like anything of freaking value of the galaxy. And I love the use of the survivor that. Not the use. What he said was, I love it because he's like, whenever
Dooku didn't just take from the other planets, he also took from his own people or something along those lines.
Oh yeah, he did. He took everything, and when offered back the treasure, he's like, I don't want it. I just want the Empire gone.
They believe it's cursed. It's evil. It's evil money.
It's yeah, and whenever he brought that the data pack or whatever it was called, it was like a little storage unit. When talking to Tech called it like a separatist like memory bank or something, or a data bank or something, and he corrected him by saying not separatist, Sereno.
Yeah, because like that's one thing. Like we're having a Charlie military experience kind of knowledge moment right now.
Well, you're the expert in this case.
When it comes to war, a common tactic it's not really a tactic, it's just something that happens in war, is you may have like a warring faction inside of your country or whatever. But if that is the primarily faction, then everybody else just kind of gets clumped into it, even if they're completely like away from it. And we saw this a lot in Afghanistan and Iraq, mainly Afghanistan. is our troops would move into a village and they'd be talking with the elders. But they're trying to present like a relaxed face, like approachable face. But at the same time, they're like, this person could be Taliban. This person could be Al Qaeda. When that person might not have anything to do with them and absolutely hate Taliban and Al Qaeda and want to genuinely help the coalition. But because of the actions of a few, everybody in that area is grouped together with, oh, these guys are Taliban or might be Taliban.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it happens there. People's like, oh, this is separatist. No, it's Serenian. Like this is our culture.
It's their culture.
Not the separatists. Because something that people forget about the separatists, not everybody wanted the war. We see this in the Clone Wars. There were senators in the Separatist Senate that wanted to drive for peace.
But we even see that in Bad Batch Season 1.
But Dooku needed the war to go on, so he silenced them.
Yeah, and we see that that message that I forget what was it wrote. It wasn't like it was like Rohan, not Rohan. Oh, he sounds like a demon, like a Dragon Ball Z character. It was. I'm just gonna call him the Survivor. It's just what he said. Whatever. Sorry. What he said. The message behind it is you got to separate the government from the country, or from a country, planetary system, or just a portion of the galaxy, and separate it for its people. Not it's just the government. The separatists used to lead are just the ones that led it. That was their government. But culturally, Sereno was its own thing.
Mm-hmm. Sereno had its own culture that was completely devoid of the separatists. They just happened to be the same planet as the leader of the separatist party. Like they're kind of SOL on that point. Like they couldn't really do anything about it. Like, if it was anybody else, they could have let's take back our government. But Sith Lord versus normal people, not exactly a fair fight. Not a fair fight. They could have been like, "Viva la Revolution," and Dooku would have been like, "My fingers go zappy zap."
Oh, Viva! Oh, really? Hey, guess what? Viva la Force!
Okay, what else stood out to you? We'll try and focus on that first episode right now.
Ooh. Omega still feels guilt because she's still when hearing the Hunter and Echo's conversation of the mission. Of Hunter didn't like it at first, but didn't want to go on the mission at first. It was too risky. But he did it anyway because everyone else did. And Echo put him aside, and he said, "This'll help. This'll help us. This will benefit us. We'll be we can get by more than the Empire possibly the Republic could have, but it'll help their situation because that's what they need." And Echo shows that he still wants to help people.
Mm-hmm. What was brought up during that was the fact that the Bad Batch and Omega, neither group, if you split it down the middle, you have the Bad Batch and you have Omega. Neither of them can have a normal life because of each other. Uh-huh. And that's what Omega was upset about, is she feels responsible for the rest of the Bad Batch not being able to have a normal life because she's in it. But then Echo and Tech go to show her they want nothing but to have her in their life by that point.
When Omega heard that conversation, she dedicated to keep trying to get the treasure from those chests. No
And
matter what.
And that's where like her being raised by soldiers is kind of like it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing. It's a good thing because like if she's given something to do and it's important to whoever gave it to her, she will see it through to the end no matter what. But that's also the bad thing because she's not experienced enough to understand when to stop.
It's her greatest strength as well as her greatest weakness.
Mm-hmm.
It's
because like you see with the rest of the Bad Batch, they real like when things started going bad, they realized right away like, hey, we need to scrub and run. Like we need to get out of here. Things are going bad. This isn't going to end well. And she kept trying to get more, and it wasn't because she was greedy. She just wanted to help, and she had a mission. And Echo realized that real fast that she's just like a shiny. They're giving a task and they have to see it through no matter what. And that's something that in the military that we have is like we'll get the new guys in and we'll give them a task or something. And they'll just want to keep going and going and going. But eventually we as leaders we have to be like, hey, stop. You're doing great. You're doing great, but it's not something you can finish on your own, or that we can even finish. We need to pull back, regroup, think about this.
I find it very poetic because I just realized that the first time we get introduced to Echo when he's a shiny.
Mm-hmm. He's come full circle. Full circle. He went from being the new guy that's eager to please and let's go, and like he's only done the training simulations. He doesn't know actual combat, doesn't know how to actually soldier on. He
just wants to let his fellow men know what the orders are and make sure they know.
And now he's a leader. Like I say he's a leader because when he died, he was an ARC trooper. So he was a leader. He was like that was his job, was to lead men into battle and be responsible for them. And now, like obviously, there are no leader. There's no chiefs, no Indians with the Bad Batch how they are now. It's a family, but he still has that like mentoring side of him that he can help Echo with. Well, not Echo, Omega. He can help Omega with, and he also has different experiences that the Bad Batch doesn't have. He has that like, hey, I need to talk to this person, kind of bring him down. Whereas the Bad Batch, they've only known each other, so they know how each other works. They don't have to deal with new people too often.
Mm-hmm. And just Echo fit right in.
Mm-hmm.
One person we haven't talked about yet that I want to see, and I'm excited to see in more episodes. Crosshair.
He will definitely be brought up. I
feel like his armor would be the same since the last time we saw it.
Probably because Empire, they like uniformity and the same. But one thing that I find, like, we already see it. We see it by the end of episode 2. He survived. So he survived, but he didn't rat out his brothers.
Another reason.
As far as the Empire is aware, the Bad Batch is dead. Until the end of episode 2, when that one
Captain Wilco.
I'm talking.
Well, that was the trooper. I cannot remember his name for the goddamn life of me. Hannah, do you remember his name?
Imperial fuckface. I don't even know if Hannah's still in here. I just know we have 2 people. But the Imperial was like, they're supposed to be dead. Well, my report's not changing, goes the loyal clone trooper. And he's like, no, they're going to stay dead. Bang.
He's like, Captain Wilco refused to make a false report.
Mm-hmm.
because he
And
didn't see it right.
That brings up something that I saw. I think it was yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Um, as like another reason why the Empire phased out clones. When you get to the Imperial thing, like you get to the Empire, everyone's like fighting, trying to be like, you're trying to just like make yourself look better. And if you have someone who is completely loyal and completely by the book, that's not going to help you twist and manipulate the system to make yourself look better.
Mm-hmm.
So that was explained, like that's another reason why they phased out the clones, which it makes sense. Because if you're in a system where backstabbing and manipulating is the way to gain favor and prestige, someone who is going to do the right thing all the time isn't someone you want in that organization.
And plus, losing more and more brothers. They don't like you grow attachments. You grow attachment because they are literally brothers. That's why they phased, and it's another reason why they phased them out.
They're literally the same person.
Yep.
They're not brothers. They're the same person. It's just that's one thing. Like I don't know if people like I don't know how many people understand it. It's like when they say brothers, they're not talking like a literal sense. They're talking camaraderie. Like these people have grown up together. They have fought together. That's where their bond comes from. The growing up part, obviously, that makes them like family. But it's those real bonds are forged in the worst of times, which the clones never knew good times, which I hate to say it. But they never knew good times.
Also, hi, Brim. Another thing, I loved seeing the other clones, especially whenever they showed Captain Wilco.
Mm-hmm.
They still refer to each other as someone who had names.
Not all of them.
Not all. Some did.
Yeah, and that's part of their personalities coming back, because Order 66 happened, and immediately after Order 66, they were just living droids at that point. You see it in the fact that you never saw a trooper without his helmet off. You never see anything personalized on their armor or in just the way they act. It's all very robotic. It's very by book. But then
Crosshair was like that too.
Yep, that was one giveaway that he was.
He was.
And then we see Hauser in season 1.
Hauser's the best.
Helmet off, great hair, custom armor. His personality's there.
Personality shows that he's of rank as well.
Well, that really didn't even matter because like
this was the rank.
To the clones, they would be able to. They knew who was who. It wasn't like people got lost in the void of, oh, we're all wearing white, so I don't know who. I don't know that this is Lieutenant so and so and this is Private Fuckface. Like they know exactly who's who because they've just been around each other that long.
Commander Fucko, where are you?
But there were some theories that Hauser, they like deactivated his inhibitor chip to allow him to retain his personality because he was dealing with civilians that he was trying to keep in like good favor because they knew that if the Twi'leks rebelled, it would be a pain in the ass. Which it ended. That ended up happening. The Twi'leks rebel, and they're the biggest pain in the ass to the Empire.
I feel it as though it's like when Order 66 happened, and I think I've said this before, personalities are still they are coming back, but it's halted because they are affected by so many chemicals in the inhibitor chip entering their mind. And with the personalities coming back, you have this internal conflict with like brain chemicals in the brain. with the chemicals in the brain. They're still there. It's just not atomically. I'm not thinking of the right
Biologically,
biologically, their bodies are reacting as always follow orders. Even their bodies know that. It's not a mental thing anymore.
Because this is another military experience. Is after you do something for so long, it becomes second nature. That's just in general. But when it comes to like following orders or doing something a certain way, especially with the military, you do it after a while for so long, it's second nature. You don't even think you do it. If you get me and my friends together and you have us walk down the street, you'll see it. It's second nature to us. We don't even notice it anymore. But we'll start walking, whatever. And by the end of it, we're all walking in step. We're taking the exact same step at the exact same time.
I love
perfectly in sync. And it's not a conscious choice. We're not sitting there thinking about it. It just happens. Our body reacts. Well, it's not even that we want to do it. Our body just reacts and it happens because we did it for so long. So
I have that as well. Because I see that as a way of like, it's a great way to understand a person. If you're walking in step with them, you're trying to. It's another way to get on someone's level. If you
that's if you do it consciously. Because like with my friends, we don't think about it. It's not a conscious choice. If we notice that we're walking in step with one another, we make conscious choices to get out of step. Because to us, it's weird. Now that we're not in the military and we don't need to be in step with one another, we're trying to break that habit of just instinctively getting in step with somebody. But I am liking that we're seeing more personalities come back because the captain even stops to check on his men.
They are still the same clones that they were.
It's just how is the inhibitor affecting them? Because some of them may never get their personalities back. Others might.
We may not even know. We don't even know until it's like picked out a bit more. That's what makes them all. They're all the same face. Everyone is unique. It's what I like. How like when I. That's why that's why I love Hauser. It's because he was one of the first that still had that. I knew that. Yes, he was there at Order 66. He still has his personality like he does if he's talking to his commander. Anyone who is commander, anyone who he knows. We see that with Captain Wilco, and when he's confronting that Imperial sergeant, he is still a clone that we know from the Clone Wars. Nothing has changed except for subconsciously their minds, as well as the government, their leaders. To them, nothing's changed.
All right, I want to change gears here and talk about something else. When they found the elevator in Dooku
that was brilliant.
What did you think was going to be at the bottom of the elevator?
I cannot remember.
I can't remember. Hangar was the farthest thing from my mind. I thought they were going to stumble upon some sort of like Sith shrine or something, some Sith artifact, something to point that Dooku was not who he said he was to the public eye.
I feel like you would have that somewhere else because I can't even remember if we have in the Clone Wars because the parallels to whenever we are in his chambers, the 3 doors opening, cutting back to when he was being attacked by attacked by like unknown assassins, Ventress and Ahsoka.
No, Ventress and the other Night Sisters.
Oh.
It wasn't Ahsoka. Ahsoka would never be an assassin.
True. But then like it's just and then the trap door. I cannot remember what is down there. And do we ever see it in Clone Wars? It has been so long.
I don't think so. I'll go back
quicker
and
escape.
I'll go back and watch it this week, and I'll let you know next week's episode, like when we reconvene next week. But as far as I know, we don't see what's down there until the Bad Batch. And like when I saw them like get on this elevator that was directly behind Dooku's desk, I was like, this gives me the vibe of something Sithy. We're gonna see something Sith related here.
And it's that misleading mystery. It's
like I was like, this is gonna be cool. Like we're gonna see something Sith related, and then the Bad Batch is gonna be like, what the fuck is this shit? It's a hanger.
It's just
I was like, oh.
I find that it's like a funny like poke at real life. We always our imaginations are fun when we don't know, are fun whenever mystery is involved. We always see him go down that chute whenever he needs to. Never see it at the bottom. So yes, we get to finally do it. We get to oh, and that's the funny part. It's just a normal hanger.
Yeah, and like, I love how it kind of came. Like the two episodes came full circle because in the beginning of the first one, we see Omega studying. And what she was looking at on the data pad was a V-wing, Imperial V-wing.
I didn't even see that. Yeah,
it was an Imperial V-wing. Those show up in the next episode. Granted, she's not there to be like, oh, you got to do this. But the studying came in handy because she's able to identify exactly what type of ship she's on and how they can escape without getting to an escape pod because they've been jettisoned. It's like, oh, we're on an Imperial class freighter, yada, 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 yada. We could just use the cargo vessel, the cargo container as an escape pod.
It works. And, like, she's doing great.
Oh, yeah.
She's progressing. And I love it. I love comparing it to... I love comparing her... Was she born at the same time as Boba? I just had this thought. Boba seems to grow up more. No, it's like sorry. I shouldn't treat them as like clones, as they should grow up the same way. They're both unique, even to each other.
So
they would have one of them. Boba has growth spurts.
There's a few years difference between like when they were like conceived. I'll just use that word because to make a clone, you have to conceive the idea. To make a baby, you have to conceive the baby. So conceive is just an easier word. They're saying make, born, whatever. Like, but when they were there's just a few. There should be like a few years difference because when we see Boba in the Clone Wars, we see him growing up.
He's like a teen. Like he looks like a teenager.
Like an early teenager by the last time we see him in Clone Wars. And obviously, next time we see him, he's a full-blown adult getting thrown into a Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
But so they're roughly the same age, but there's a few years difference. So it's interesting to see how they've both grown. But this is one thing I love the fact that we don't like the one thing. This is one thing I like, but I don't like about the Bad Batch is we get no concept of how much time has passed.
That's true.
They never say, "Oh yeah, we did this like 3 years ago or whatever." Like we don't. I have no idea how long it's been, but we still see that the Bad Batch refuses to kill clones when they can.
They all fired.
Stunned.
All fired stunned.
The only time I will say that they have killed other clones is when they're in the Marauder shooting at other starfighters, or when Wrecker picked up the energy mortar.
We're gonna see that a lot more. I just know it. It's just he brought it to the ship. It was portable.
But like those are the only times that we really. And then when they picked up Hunter, when they picked up Hunter from the TK Trooper base, Wrecker had no qualms with shooting on regular humans with lethal rounds. But
it's Wrecker. It makes more sense with Wrecker because he loves what he does.
yes, but they still, even to this day, it's probably been years since Order 66 happened. They still show enough restraint not to leave a pile of corpses, because they still feel in a way connected to the troopers, but also like it doesn't make sense for them to leave a pile of corpses behind, because that's just gonna make the Empire want to find them more.
It makes them it's more of a target, but they're trying to make a difference because to the galaxy, the clones have done a full 180.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone dislikes clones, they are trying not to be like them.
Mm-hmm.
Grant, this show's amazing.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad this had a spinoff.
I'm glad the Bad Batch got introduced and we got a series about them, because it opens up so many different doors. Because like a former friend of ours, he didn't like the clones because he said they were boring. I don't agree with it.
I don't like that either, because you're just going by their face. It's just over and over. Like, what do you think was the Clone Wars for? Like, what was the point of that? Like, do you not like that? That's your argument. The argument is just like, because it's boring. I'm like, it's the same face. You see that that's why it's called the Clone Wars.
But it's like, it's what I love about the clones is, yes, they are literally the exact same person, just copy and pasted millions of times.
Of course,
but they
be different, unique to themselves.
They find a way to be independent of being a clone.
That's why I love them so much. It's not just like it's not a direct copy and paste. It's just parts. It's just unique parts to what Jango could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Of
and
what
it's
Jango
also like the sum of their experiences. Just because you're a clone doesn't mean you have the exact same experience as somebody else. Because if that was the case, like if every clone ever created had the exact same experiences, we wouldn't have Heavy, Fives, Echo, any of them, because Domino Squad would have passed the first time.
They would.
But they failed time and time again, and it made them
99 would not be a janitor.
Or he wouldn't have his great personality of staying positive, even though he knows he'll never be able to like do the same things that the others do.
He would have been a perfect clone.
But like some of their experiences, Domino Squad wouldn't have gotten having to repeat that same test over and over and over again. So they wouldn't have had that experience of having to do it again and learn new things, like how to work together, how to deal with each other's different personalities that have developed by that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because as much as the Kaminoans wanted them to basically be compliant with every order ever given, like they wanted them to live in a box, they also gave them creativity to think outside of that box. That way they could outperform numerically superior droids.
They are just beings. Granted, artificial. Still beings. Life is everywhere, including whether biological or artificial or natural.
To quote Jurassic Park, nature finds a way.
Of course.
Or life finds a way. It's one of those two. I haven't watched Jurassic Park in a while.
I haven't seen any movie except for Jurassic World.
The
only one.
I need to see the newest Jurassic World.
Me too. doesn't for me. I just like from only seeing one movie of it, and I didn't see the other one. Now seeing the trailers for this one, huh? To me, it still doesn't make sense. Anyway, as much as that, well, that's the ones that's
So
Sid. I want to point something out. Sid says they don't have much. She doesn't have much time left, and the Empire is like she can't contain it anymore. Her business could be could be gone and destroyed.
because technically her business is more or less illegal, and if the Empire shows up to enforce law and order, they're going to crack down on all these illegal operations, only allowing the illegal operations that benefits them to exist.
So it makes sense that this may be the last mission.
Yes.
Oh yeah, wasn't their goal to get the chest so that way they can fund off this?
Their goal was to get the war chest so they could live independent of Sid. So they could be free. Because Sid loves to point out the fact that they weren't really free because the Empire was encroaching every day. The Empire was getting closer and closer to where they were at. Not maybe in like a physical sense, but in like a theological and just control sense. They were getting closer every day to taking over where they were at. So for the Bad Batch to actually be free, they would need the vast amounts of money in order to fuel the Marauder, get provisions, get clothes, medical care, whatever. That way they can still like stay off the radar of the Empire.
There's a lot of this that I cannot wait for this show to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're getting close to time, so let's go ahead and start like wrapping it up, giving our final thoughts and all of that stuff. So,
outside of Bad Batch, actually no. Let's keep talking about Bad Batch real quick.
Let's finish up Bad Batch for a few more minutes, and then we can go outside of Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm.
So, overall thoughts on the episodes?
Amazing. Back to back. It just there's the overall. You don't realize when you talk about it, you realize the overall message.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
like, that's one thing I love about just I love about Star Wars, but also like everything, like all of the other like fandoms I'm a part of, and all the other stuff that I have a passion for, is when you watch it or you play it or whatever, it like you take it in at face value, but when you go back and you look at it like under a lens, like when we do our episodes here, we don't really break down like a breakdown video would of like these episodes, but we like dive into what we can pull from the episode that wasn't just blatantly stated. Like, it's just a way, like, you always get more the second or third time around when you're actually like able to look at something and not just, oh, I need to see this so I can understand what's going on. You actually get a chance to kind of sit down and understand what's going on a deeper level.
Everything is like Star Wars is supposed to be poetic for a reason.
Mm-hmm. It's a space opera. Operas are known for having multiple stories going on. As far as I know, I'm not big on operas. I can't say.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know. I didn't even know Star Wars was classified as that, and I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, Star Wars is a space opera.
The more you know. Great. Now we're gonna get content ID. I cannot wait to see how much has changed since season 1 from Crosshair's point of view. I feel like the next episode we're going to see Crosshair.
Maybe. Other than that, what are your predictions for this week's episode? This coming week's episode.
I want to put into consideration of what with the information we already know based on the trailers and teasers and previews. We already know Gregor. We already know Gungi. I feel like Gungi and Gregor are going to come in later episodes.
Cody.
Did I say Gregor? I meant Cody. We already had Gregor. What am I thinking?
He might show back up again. We don't know.
I mean, Rex does too.
Yeah, we know Rex is going to show up. So Gregor might show up. We might finally get to see what happened with Wolf, how Wolf becomes free of his programming.
Do you think we're going to see Rex and Cody reconvene?
I don't know if we'll see them together, but we might see them in the same episode.
Their final conversation was talking about fives. I mean, Echo. Season 7 is what I'm trying to say. It's like, without it, we clones wouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
That was like mission right before. That's when they met the Bad Batch. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense. Comes full circle.
All right, guys, let us know what your predictions are for this next episode, your thoughts on these past 2 episodes. Let us know in the comments, and we'll try and work in some of your thoughts into next week's episode on like what your predictions were for this coming episode. And if anything that you stated about your thoughts about these past 2 episodes come up in this week's episode, we'll bring it up. But Dom, you had some other thoughts that were non-Bad Batch related?
It's just like a funny one that I'm having trouble trying to get my head around. Not really, but I just find it funny. In Tales of the Jedi, when we see Dooku and Qui-Gon on their mission in that town, mm-hmm. You see an actual dog. That's the only thing. I'm still like laughing at it to this day. It makes sense, but it's just it is just a dog, mm-hmm. And I love it. And I know it has no big value. I just love the little guy.
Yeah. But guys, from us, thank you for coming and watching. We do apologize. We've been gone a while. We've just been really busy with life. My computer took a shit, so I had to get a new one when I had the extra money to do so.
You had to wipe its ass.
But thank you guys for sticking with us and just holding out until we can get back. We should be uploading weekly like before. Unless something changes, we'll be here every Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link to our Discord is in the description of this video. Join. You can just chat with us just on a personal basis. You can give us ideas for other episodes, especially when we don't have like active Star Wars content coming out. Like we don't have shows or movies or books to talk about. Pop some ideas in the Discord.
We're happy to hear your Discord. We're happy to hear your theories, queries, or suggestions.
Mm-hmm. But again, thank you from us to you guys. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, the average YouTube stuff. But again, we'll be back here, same time, same place, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys have a great week, and may the Force be with you always.